What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TDY, Faith, Family, and Finance, where we grow more each day. My name is Winston. You can call me Winnie for those that don't know me. And today I am joined with my brother, my mentor, my friend, Win Willis. Win, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, I am not your mentor.
He says that.
I,
He says that,
but I
but
am I
I
am your
learned
brother.
I learned a lot from him.
Nah, I learn a lot from you as well. So I appreciate that gesture for sure, and I definitely am humbled by it. Yeah, I'm Winfield Willis. Everybody calls me Win. I'm not to be confused with Winnie, but we I'm a Baltimore native. Um, Grew up here, came back here, live here, and try to impact my community as much as possible, primarily through real estate development in our communities. Um, and I really just think that my calling, as well as my actions and my steps that are guided each day, just really lead me back to one simple thing, which is just our commitment to transformational change in communities in cities like Baltimore, and hopefully we can spread that across the country. And hopefully, I can be an example of that and lead other people, to that with the things they do best.
Absolutely. It's actually funny that you mentioned that about the mentor thing because I feel like everybody needs to have a couple different mentors in their life. So, like somebody that's just a step ahead of you, somebody that's like a lot of steps ahead of you, and somebody that's like a couple steps below you, right? So, like, just to since we're touching on it, right? How have you kind of like navigated like finding like that right mentor? And this is just real quick because we gotta go into like the praise, prayer, and practice. But I just wanted to ask that.
Man, I've been lucky because my father's been like really a mentor to me. But as I'm surpassing his level of knowledge, I think now is where I'm seeking mentors or just insight. But I think I learned from everybody. I think everybody I encounter, positive or negative, give me some type of accountability or lesson, and I try to instill that in my kids as well. Um, I think we made a joke yesterday. We were just talking about bread, and we made a sandwich for my nephew, and the bread was the mentor, and he was the mentor for me as well as for himself because he was taking the crust off the bread. And he was like, "Well, I don't like the crust." Well, I'm like, "Well, it's the same bread, right?"
Okay. Hmm.
So he was like, "Oh, you're right." And it just goes to show, like, just from accountability wise for me, because he taught me in that moment that our minds are so powerful that we'll take something that is exactly the same as like bread and the crust, and take it all off just to make ourselves feel comfortable and trick ourselves in believing that it's a different thing than what it already is. And it just put me in a position where, like, he was my mentor at that particular time, because like, hey, why are you trying to trick yourself and stay away from, and go away from what the ground truth is, which is it's all bread, right?
Exactly.
And so it's like I'm looking for mentors professionally now, but like I think every moment is a lesson or opportunity to take something from things and sober your mind.
You have to be extremely self aware though to be able to find those lessons in everything as simple as like bread, for example. You have to almost look, right?
You have to have kids.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, once
Um,
once they get a certain age, I think you see it in everything. At least I
I
have.
feel that.
I've seen it. Yeah. So
I feel that. Okay, okay. That was a quick digress. Let's jump into the three P's for today: your praise, practice, and your prayer. So I'll go first. So for me, my praise, it's I traveled to New York over the last week to deliver a work thing, and I got to see some friends and family, which was awesome. Came back safe. Everything went well. My prayer for this week. Um, a lot of things are kind of going on like in the AI space right now. If you don't know, like Elon Musk and a couple other AI leaders, they put out a letter not too long ago, about a week ago, to kind of slow down the AI arms race, if that's what we can call it. And my prayer is that we kind of just cool off with that, and that goes well for us, because this can be ugly. You know what I'm saying? Like AI is really taking over the game right now, and I just want to be a little bit more mindful of that. So my prayer is for like the leaders in charge, and even with the TikTok thing, you know what I'm saying? Like they're thinking about banning TikTok because of all the privacy reasons. So my prayer is that all the leaders in charge, uh, that they get the knowledge and the wisdom to make the right decisions, so we don't suffer. And my practice for this week is gonna be it's going to be putting my money where my mouth is again. So I've decided to outsource a couple different things in my life, to make more streamlined processes and make things a little bit easier. For example, putting out this content, right? I was able to connect with a video editor. I was able to buy different software that kind of make everything a little bit easier. So that's my practice. I want to invest in the things that I want to do, rather than just having my money go to long term goals. I want to meet some short term goals as well.
Yeah, so I would say, and those are all amazing, and especially that prayer, because I feel the same.
Facts.
So I would say my praise is two things, right? I'm elated that I was able to go, to the Middle East and then and come back and really get exposed to what I think is was just life changing
Mm-hmm.
connections, people, insights that were totally unplanned. But I'm so thankful for that in particular. And then the second thing, I think my wife, over the last 3 weeks has really um, helped me through these past 3 weeks. So I want to give praise to her for really being unselfish and also recognizing her burdens that she may have put on me in prior weeks, and then offloading that from me, right? So I'm very thankful for that. My prayer
Absolutely.
is I'm praying for all of my you know friends and close family members and people that I care about that have lost somebody in these past 2 weeks. It's been very heavy for them, and being heavy for them, making it heavy for me. So I want to make sure that I'm praying and putting a good word and love out to them, because I know that these things are tough. Um, but I also pray that I'm able to try to be a better support for that and communicate a lot better. So I know we can get bogged down in the things that we do.
Facts.
In practice, I think there's two things I'm trying to get better at right now. Um, one of them is I'm trying to be a lot more disciplined in how I use or spend. Let's use that word. How I spend business wise and personally. Right. I'm trying to be very cautious about what does give me a return, whether it be, for example, we went to the movies to see Super Mario Brothers today. That $60 gave me a return, in my opinion. It was worth it. Right. So, like, what are the things that are definitely worth it for me? Um, and the second thing is just me being a lot more um, strict on my time and how I set aside time for work, family, um, and friends as well, and trying to add friends in there. I think I don't, although, everybody, we have a good relationship. I don't think I do a good enough job of putting out time for friends per se.
I feel that, man. That's my thing. That's my burden. I think that, so I'm not to take away from your practice or whatever, but I think that low maintenance friends are the best types of friends, and that we should prioritize them before anybody else.
For sure, for sure. But it's I've been in a journey of right now of like what are the core things that and foundational things that are really important to me. Number one is friendship, right? Friendship has always been important to me, especially my male friends. I don't have any brothers blood wise, but I have a lot of brothers, um, you know, through just relationships like ours, and others of people that have touched my lives, I've touched theirs. And I want to make sure that if that is my foundational principle, I'm actually taking it seriously and
Facts.
being more, having more communication, checking in more. Like one of my friends, he just said he has a baby on the way, right? And I'm so excited. But why we should have been talking. We haven't talked in 2 months. We should have been talking these past 2 months, right? So it doesn't feel like an announcement, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to take away from him sharing his sharing things with me, but like I'm sometimes I feel like we only talk when it's an announcement or it's bad, which I'm just being able to get as many touch points as possible, knowing that we have all this technology, knowing that we care about each other. Like I think that's increasingly important to me as I've crossed the 30-year-old threshold and being 31 now.
Damn, 31. It's crazy. It's not that crazy.
It's not. It's not.
It's
I
crazy.
got more energy than you.
No, chill out.
I used to think the older people were lying, and the 50-year-olds would be like, "Oh man, I got more energy than you." I kind of see it. I kind
From
of
who?
see it. I think 50-year-old people who are driven have a lot more energy than 25-year-olds, 22-year-olds. I think it's just it's really interesting to me. I think
It.
because they audit their energy and very very well, and they
That's
don't
exactly
they
what I
don't
was gonna say. Like
yeah.
maybe
I
they
think
just channel it differently rather than having more.
yeah, but they're lasting longer, right? So
Mm.
they're the slow and steady wins the race. So I'm actually seeing why now more than ever. It's like, well, I'm getting more and more energy as I'm building up. I thought I would be you know um, feeling old. I feel better than ever in the gym and in life and business. I feel like getting sharper, sharper.
I think that it's funny because the I read something that said like the prime of a man is like around his 40s, um, while we're all like in our 20s, like trying to be the 20-year-old millionaire or whatever. But like the financial peak, usually like the peak of a man comes like later on in life in like his 40s. And that just coincides beautifully with what you said. Like, why are we, who convinced us rather that if we hit the lottery or achieve every single one of our goals by 20, 21 years old, and when we were able to drink and celebrate, like that we failed? I think that I don't know. Can you even blame that on society, or is that like a deeper thing?
Nah, I think that maybe your generation. I don't think. I think it's seeped into like people my age, but I really don't. I think everything is so great that it's creating an illusion that we all
Mm.
can get stuff done, right? Because we have like AI, it's making everything so productive that you believe that somehow you can hit it big. And the truth of the matter is, which was what I'm learning because I'm 8 years in now into what I look at as my career, and it takes. I literally said this, and I think we've had this conversation before. It takes a decade just to get started, right? Just to know if you're elite at what you do, right? It takes a decade, and I'm 8 years in, just starting to get confidence in the things that I say and do in my profession because I've put in the time, I've put in the work, and if anybody, I do think that you can have a 3 year stint where you just hit it and you're in line. It's like those three threes you make. You hit one, then you hit another one, then get a heat check, right? And you hit that one too. I think that's really kind of how it works. But at the end of the day, the shot selection that you have, in the beginning and after that heat check is going to determine whether you stay consistent. And I just think that's really what it is. I think if you're really committed to something, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and if you are committed for that long haul. So yeah, I think for me, I just talked to my wife about this, and I was like, well, 40 is going to be amazing. I'm like, what we're putting together right now is not even close because I've talked to people in my profession that's 50 and just how sharp they are and
Hmm.
how they can get to the root of something very, very quickly. And after one or two questions, it's almost unreal. So, but that's time and wisdom, and so I think that's something that I think people. I was in Dubai, and I was with a lot of I got to be careful with how I say this, but a lot of individuals that have means, have a lot of world insight, and they weren't 30.
Hmm.
I didn't see one 30-year-old billionaire, 100 millionaire, and if they were part of a royal family,
Facts. It was
right?
generational.
So it's generational. So what I've realized is, even through that this particular recent trip, is that what I was being told is just like, hey, I don't know what you're worried about. You're 30, you're on the right path, you're right at the door. As soon as you get in, it's over. Because, and just speaking financially, if you can ever crack through that door financially, where, at a certain dollar amount,
Hmm.
you never need money again. That's just how our system works, right? But the thing is just what we're talking about is that you're probably not going to do it at 21.
Yeah,
And if you do,
that's
it's going to leave. My father would give is a great example of that. 26, 27, $100 million contract with the government, and that's in 1970. So, that's probably what, 300, 400 million now. $100 million, 26, 27, blew it all,
what.
wasn't ready, wasn't ready for the oil embargo. And if he was ready, saved his money, he would have been an oil baron, and maybe my trajectory looks a little bit different, right? Or maybe he doesn't meet my mother. I don't think so. All these things happen for a reason. But what I say that to say is that when you get it like that quick and young, sometimes it's not always the best thing. Um, yes,
Cause
you
I
experience
was
stuff,
gonna
but
say, cause you don't have the character to sustain it.
you don't know who you are, especially with men. I am just starting to figure out who I am, and it clicked at 30, and we had this conversation. It just clicked at 30, like, yo, I really don't care about what everybody else thinks. I care about who I am, and I'm fine with that. And if you don't, if you have an issue with it, then we're not compatible
Yeah,
at the end of the day, right?
it's almost like there's like a it's like finances or success, however you define that. Like that's the byproduct, right? Like the actual goal should be developing a character to sustain that, and in the character development is where all these things come from, right? That's where you find the woman of your dreams, you find the career of your dreams, you find the financial fulfillment that you're looking for, the purpose, and all of this. And if we get so caught up chasing fruit that we forget to plant, we'll be chasing fruit our whole life rather than planting and being able to sit under a tree that's going to drop fruit on our head. You know what I'm saying?
What you just said was so important. You can't skip any steps, right?
Absolutely.
Like that's what I summed up from what you just said. You can't skip any steps. And I think we're in a time right now where people want to skip steps. It is almost impossible to do. Um, and when you talk to individuals at the highest levels, intellectually, financially, like they didn't skip any steps. They put the time in. And I even, listen to an individual who's fourth generation, multi billions, and when you're talking to him, he still has motivation and didn't skip any steps, but has every reason to, right? And I'm not saying everybody in their family or any other family that with means that people don't skip steps. They probably do, but the ones that shine, you can't skip. You just can't, right? And I think that just goes into the order of all the things that makes our world work. You really can't.
So let me ask you this, because you brought the idea of um, like sports into it from the jump, right? So for those that don't know, I'm gonna say played basketball, because I don't know if you're still good at basketball, but
I'm still very 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 good. I just
okay,
started playing again, and I am definitely good enough, to beat anybody
okay.
right now.
So he's definitely good enough to be the second option when playing with me. Makes sense.
I'm fine.
Now, I see. I like him for that. But so you got a Division 1 scholarship. You played Division 1 ball for a few years, and you were very solid. One of the, if not the best player on the team. Um, how did you know to make that jump from athletics to academics to business? Right? How did you know that that jump needed to happen? Where you probably could have taken it, like, the whole way, either direction that you wanted to go. But what was kind of your thought process along that?
Uh, it was really a risk analysis of like, you know, um, 12 games in or 10, 12 games in, I got hurt, tore my Achilles, but I was already preparing that summer for, a transition if I needed to. So I kind of hedged my bets. I know everybody says, "Oh, plan A is, and if it's a plan B," but yeah, that's cool. But let's just put the numbers out there. Most people don't make it to the NBA. Maybe I was could have been a good overseas player. I was 50% field goal percent shooter. I was 49% from the three, 95, 97% from the free throw line. Those numbers translate to overseas game, and I probably could have made good money. But then what? What's the shelf life? Okay, maybe if I don't get hurt again, 5 years, 10 years. Okay, we take that. I'm 34. Now what? Now, I'm not discouraging anybody, and I'm not saying 34 is old, but you're 34, even though I would have had an MBA and, an undergraduate degree, but you're 34 with no resume, no skills. You're not a veteran where you can get some veteran benefits of getting a job. I'm not disabled. I have nothing to show for the education, but I have everything to show for basketball. Hopefully, I have money and then I can be an entrepreneur. Maybe that works, but the chances of that are also slim, right? So what I wanted to set up was an opportunity to go work. So I had all plans of going to work for a financial firm, or I had also set up a PhD program during that time as well while I was hurt. Um, I had all options of just going to go work and have a job in New York, New Jersey, try to do investment banking, find my way into something, private equity. I always wanted to do real estate, so I wanted to figure out how I could get into that. So I was gonna figure it out regardless. But you have to put in those plans up front. We knew from when I got to NJIT that I would get my undergraduate and then figure out how to get my MBA as much as possible. So that's 3 years prior to me just finishing it. So that was planned in actually 2000, or 4 years prior. So 2000, got my MBA in 2016. 2012 is when we knew what the plan was. So we mapped out each credit. We knew what it was. Me and my father sat down and said, this is the opportunity that we have ahead of us. And if I don't play basketball, fine. If I do, then fine. Because I had no intentions of thinking I was going to be good, to be honest. I did well in D2, and I was like, hey, maybe I can be a good role player. I never planned on being a great player on the team or anything like that. To be honest,
Yeah.
so
So let me dig into that a little bit, please, because you have a son,
mhm.
and I have a son, and one of my very very like specific goals for my son is to make the NBA, right?
Okay,
Um, and yeah, 6'4" lefty combo guard, right, for the Atlanta Hawks.
6'4". Okay,
6'4", 6'4", 6'4". So I'm saying that in faith, because my dad's about 6 foot tall and my wife's dad's about 6 feet. But something happened in the generation gap there, where it skipped me. But that's fine. We don't gotta talk about that. these kids
How
these
tall is
days,
how tall is your wife?
my wife, don't worry about that. She 5'4", but something once again happened there where her sister's like 5'9". So who knows, man? Who knows? Yeah, my little brother is 5'11". I don't get it. I don't get it. But anyway, um, I always kind of have this like debate with myself where I'm like, should I, at what age or at what stage should I um, push in the direction of full commitment towards this dream that he may or may not have, right? Rather than um, kind of creating a plan B in the interim, right? Like instead of going to a college for communications with the sole intention of going to the MBA, can we do something along the lines of like similar to what you did? Like let's go for computer science or MIS, right? Where even if the MBA doesn't work out or an injury happens, you're able to pull out from it. You still got your 2 years of eligibility after your sophomore year. You transfer. That's another year. Boom. Now you got your degree with 2 more years of eligibility or something like that. You can get your MBA or whatever, God forbid there's a COVID year or something like that, you can get, all these things can happen um, in that time frame where you're not necessarily like pigeonholed to one dream and one goal, right? That's kind of my thought process. What are your thoughts on that?
I'll go through kind of what my experience was. I came in JIT to be an engineer. Like I came to be a civil engineer. That was my goal. The previous school I was at, I had a double major, international business and engineering. So my parents did something that I don't think was planned, but was pretty smart. I was in engineering. Me and my sister were in engineering classes and camps on the weekends. Um, and we have a school called Poly, and that's like they have an engineering hub. So they have a pipeline of bringing people to go there to learn engineering. So I was in the middle school pipeline to go to the high school. I didn't end up going because the dream was go to NBA, and they weren't a basketball school at the time. So I think what they did was unintentionally put me in situations for engineering. So I always wanted to be an engineer, right? And I still kind of look at myself as one, even though I don't have an engineering degree. So I went to be an engineer, but I wanted to be an engineer that was playing in the NBA, right? And hopefully, I think what I'm doing with my son and my children now is that it's not about choosing a dream, it's about gaining skills. What do you spend your time on? So we have this game called 24 Math that the kids play, and I'll play with it. It's four numbers, and you have to get to 24. And first one to get there wins. You got to tap it and get there. So we're working on those pattern recognition, cognitive skills now in a fun way. But we're going to get up at 5 a.m. because you want to play basketball now, and we're going to be in the gym, right? I'm going to go work out, do my lift, and then you're going to do it, and then we're going to go to school. Now, there's a couple of things that those things do as far as skills wise is first, we're making learning, math, competing intellectually fun. It's the first thing. So we talk about domination when it comes to ourselves in the classroom and things like that. I don't talk about dominating others. Through your domination of you will be able to dominate whatever else is around you. But especially when we talk about in school about doing things the proper way. So that's one thing. When we're on the court, it's no different. So we'll do our math in the evening, our reading in the evening, but in the morning you're up at 4 or 5 a.m. doing your chores, cleaning, doing the dishes. My nephew will clean the whole first floor, and then we're in the gym. So now you've beat everybody up, which is a skill. You've made your bed, which is you accomplished stuff. You've already cleaned the house. When you come back, it's clean. You've accomplished something else. So now we've accomplished two things, and now we're headed to go get more done. By the time they get to school, they don't know it, and they may hate me for it sometimes. They've already accomplished multiple things before they get to school. Now, kids are kids, boys are boys. They're going to go act a fool for sure.
That
But
is without hesitation, that's going to
can't,
happen.
can't stop that, right? But what we can do is, are you performing in the things that matter? being nice socially to people? Are you not, you know, of course sometimes you're gonna be a nuisance. That's just what's gonna happen. When you're smart, this is the thing. If you want to know if your kids are smart, they're acting up. They're defying things because that's what smart people do, right? So trying to make sure that they're being polite, just things that I can somewhat measure and get from their interactions with their teachers. But then also, are they doing their work, right? Are they doing it? Are they excelling at it? Are they, you know, not putting pressure on themselves, but are they wanting to, you know, are they craving to be better, right? So I try to look at it like that. So we're not chasing dreams. We're just acquiring skills that may be applicable to the dream, but you may hit your ceiling, right? Intellectually, probably not, but physically and maybe sports wise, there may be somebody better with you, or politically, you won't get the opportunity to do things, which I think is the case for most players. It's just like this is a business when it comes to the NBA, so politics matter.
Oh man. So you said a lot in that, and I kind of just want to dive into a couple things. So one, we were kind of talking about this earlier, but with that certain level of work ethic, right? You can't. I think Kanye said this. You can't do something for long enough and not become good at it. So when we talk about like that level of work ethic, right, and the life that could subsequently follow from that, uh, sometimes you will be, most times if you put in that level of work, you're going to be in a different position than a lot of your peers, a lot of your friends, and even some of your family members, right? And while not everything can be attributed to your work ethic, most of it and some of it can, and you cannot take away from that. So I always kind of find myself in a situation of um, survivor's guilt, right? Where I recognize that I'm blessed. I recognize that I could not have gotten myself to the place where I've gotten myself to, or I could not have gotten myself to the place where I am now, right? Without some sort of divine intervention, whether that be from a God or friends or family or whatever, right? But I also cannot take away from the fact that I was that kid for 4 or 5 years of my life, waking up every morning at 5 a.m., going to the gym, going to school before classes even start to learn how to program, to learn all these skills that I needed to eventually put myself in a situation where I didn't have to do that anymore. Right. So what's that tension there between being blessed versus the work ethic that you put in? And how do you communicate that to somebody that you might be mentoring or you might be talking to, or even your son, right? Or your nephew? How do you communicate that tension there between being blessed and your work ethic?
Oh man, that's a very loaded question, but I'll break it down first with how, you know, the divine intervention aspect of it, right? I have been extremely blessed because I've only had one choice. And
What you
I
mean?
feel like the, you know, higher power, God, Allah, whatever we want to call it, has only given me one choice, one option, and that's what I do. So I'll give an example. Um, NGIT was my only choice to transfer to, because they spent the time and they did what they, you know, said they were going to do, unlike other people. So I had one choice. Um, you know, so a lot of the things that I've done, I've already known when I was looking at the choice that it was the right thing to do. Now, the intervention I think comes from within, from God. So you know, you've always known, right? Just look back on it. I think everybody should look back on it. You knew when it was wrong and you knew when it was right.
Facts.
And whether you ignored it or not was up to you. So I've always known. And my father used to call me Joseph because I would tell the dreams of the future. Hey, this is what I'm going to be doing. I knew I would be an NJIT. Told my father 2 years prior, I'm going to be playing college at a place that has red and blue and white jerseys.
Wow.
I knew it already. I knew it. We said it. Now, when I saw the choice, there was only one choice, only one option. I knew it was right. Same with high school. Same with what I do today. It was only one thing I could have been doing. That was the only choice for me. And the intervention was somebody named Nicole Bradley coming up and looking for my father on LinkedIn and giving me opportunity to go work at an appraisal firm in New York and DC that basically gave me the education within a couple months to do what I'm doing today. Right? I had the base foundation, but it expanded my mind. Going to the Middle East this past month, earlier in March, I I knew I was going. I didn't know why. I just knew I would be going, and I knew it was right. And when I landed, I knew it was right, and everything fell into place. So I think those things happen all the time, but we ignore it or we're desensitized to it because of, I think what you hit on, which is that guilt, right? Well, what are people going to think? I don't want nobody to look and think I'm better than them. Oh, I don't want to be too sure of myself because I don't want to look stupid, right? And I'm listening to the CEO Within book, Bring Out the CEO Within, and it talks about fear. It talks about like just try the opposite of the fear. Like whatever your fear says, when fear presents itself, just do it and see if the fear is right. And most of the time, if not 100% of the time, it's not, right? So removing that just from the blessed part. Like I've always just felt like we all have that, whether we ignore it or not is up to us. The second thing, the contention between work ethic and then that just divine intervention, I think you can't have it without one, can't have one without the other. So I think people can get divine intervention, not work hard, and then they lose it all anyway. I don't think it just happens, from that. So I think, you know, it says, a story in the Bible about burying your gifts. So divine intervention was the gift you got, and then you buried it. Come on,
And it got taken away.
you're taken away, right? So I think all those things are the same. That work ethic is one and the same. If you know that you're gifted at something, you have some blessing, and you don't work at it, it'll disappear anyway. So it's not even a question. I think all this stuff has checks and balances. It has to be balanced in some type of way. So with that divine intervention, there's a requirement of work ethic. There's a requirement with everything that I've been blessed to have and give and receive. It's been based a lot of times on 4 or 5 years prior work, right? So I think that's just a requirement of it, and I think we see it in small doses every day. But again, it's all about recognition. Like, are you recognizing that these things are happening, that there's a cause and effect to it? But I think that goes into what you said with survivor's guilt as well. And I'll break down just my trip to Dubai and the UAE was amazing. And I came back, I had to write some stuff, like my experience down. And what I realized is that I can't tell anybody. If I told people exactly what happened, they would think I was lying. And that comes with just the understanding that people get it based on their exposure. And if you haven't been exposed, it doesn't matter what you say. You can want them to know. You can want them to be happy for you. But the only people that are happy for you are people that have seen it, that know it, that have been through it.
Jeez.
And that's where I've been blessed with my friends. And my friends, we've been exposed to pretty much to similar stuff, and some at higher levels, but at close enough proximity and levels where it's like, bro, I can be happy for him because I've been exposed to something at least similar or in the same vein. So we can have real conversation and be honest, and he can communicate it with me without me being judgmental. I'm like, oh man, he lying, or he think he better than me, right? And that guilt comes from our lack of recognition, again, that person can't get it. And it's not their fault. They have not been exposed. And some people don't want the exposure, and that's okay. And we have to remove our egos and start saying, bro, I know you don't want this information. And I know I want to feel like I'm helping you, but I'm really not. I'm really not at the end of the day because when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So when they're ready, they'll come, or you will give it unbeknownst to yourself without any force, right? So I won't I even with my father who's seen a lot, I couldn't even I can only give him a snippet because I couldn't it would seem like I was lying to him. And it's changed my perspective on how I communicate, um, even with my wife and everybody. Like if I
Bro,
told you what happened, I think even
bro,
you would be like, "Yo, you're lying to me. That's impossible. It's impossible."
you said something that if I don't talk about right now, I'm gonna forget it. So
Now,
I
go
just
ahead,
need you to sit with me to process this, okay?
for sure.
Because this would have saved me so many friendships that are like on life support right now. Not you said that they're not gonna get it unless they experience it. When I can't tell you how many friends I've had that I'm trying to pour so much information into them. Everything that I've read on this shelf right here, all these books, all this knowledge, everything I've gotten from my mentors. And I'm like, why aren't y'all getting it? But they haven't been exposed to it. And my exposure might not be enough. Me trying to distill down the level of information or the experiences that I've had or the life that I've lived into these people, it might not be enough. They might need more. And when the student is ready, the master will appear. I'm not trying to like sound like mightier than thou, like like I'm a master or anything like that. But you can't force feed somebody in a way that even though it will improve their life, you can't force feed it to them because even God gives us a choice, right? He says salvation. If you want it, you can have it. If not, you don't got. I'm not gonna force this on you. In the same way, you can't. Wow, that just like thinking about it now. I've been guilty of doing that so many times to my friends, and to people that I care about, just because I care about them so much. But I got to
Let,
check that.
let's let's add something on to that because I Foster, who said something to me 2 years ago, that's always stuck with me, and it's why I wait for people to ask me. I'm trying to wait for them to ask for my opinion, which before I would never wait for nobody to ask for my opinion. I'll just tell them, no matter how blunt it was, I would say it. Now I try to wait for somebody to ask, and they don't ask, I won't say it. He said that um, unwanted advice sounds the same as criticism,
Yep. Jeez.
and sometimes people are not looking for you to give them any advice. They want you to listen to them and their problems, or they just want to be around you to be around you. And that's okay. And a lot of times when we get to certain positions and we're doing well, we're like, all right, I need to get back. Sometimes you being there, I remember Jay-Z said that. He was like, charity, my presence is charity. And it was like,
Yeah.
that sounds arrogant, right? But as I've moved through different rooms, different places, that actually is a fact. It is just as beneficial to be around me than it is for me to give money or say things, right? And I think, I've been trying to do this now, even with my wife. If my wife don't ask me for my opinion on her day or dealing with a work issue, I will not give it, right? Sometimes it slips out because I care so much. But I try to, more now than ever, wait for somebody to ask because I want it to be advice or support. I don't want it to be feel like criticism, like I'm criticizing your decisions, saying you don't know what you're doing, all that stuff. I want you to be able to be, ready to receive the information. And again, communication goes both ways. If the receiver is not ready, don't matter if you're good as a sender. Don't matter how good you say it as a sender, right? We can be the best communicators, say all the perfect words, say it in the right context, have the right tone, and then what? I wasn't ready. And we save ourselves a lot of frustration that way. At least I have now, right? So I wish I had learned that 5 years ago. I would still have hair.
I'm crying. Oh man. Oh, speaking about hair, bro, I've been trying to grow mine back. I don't know if you could tell, but like,
Not, I can tell. I'm
okay,
I'm going to Turkey or LA, and I'm gonna figure it out there.
I'm
Hit one
crying.
of them doctors.
Get them implants. Nah, I definitely feel you, bro. You could
Hey,
get a man weave. They got them in New York
No, no,
too.
no, no. I still got enough hair to naturally regrow it, so
Okay.
I'm just get the natural.
Hey
And but
man, let me know how it goes, bro. I'm probably use my 2024 tax refunds on it. All right.
hey, listen, if you got Blue Cross Blue Shield, well, you don't live in Maryland anymore. Maryland, they pay for it.
Oh, okay. There you go. There you go, man. Oh, so okay, let me talk about this while we on the sort of on the subject. Um, Income versus impact, right? I just want to throw it out there, like blanket statement. Uh, with what we're doing, in or with what you're doing in with MyZoro right now. MyZoro is a real estate crowdfunding portal. I'll put some information down in the description. The idea behind it really is just to democratize access to like real estate, right, and real estate investing. Um, you're primarily targeting right now like marginalized communities. Baltimore, for example, being one of the main markets that you're starting in. How do you view that impact in terms of income as well? What's the trade off between income and impact? And do you really think that you can make or impact or change the system from inward, right? Or do you have to kind of break the system in general, break it out of that mold to make any
No,
meaningful change?
I don't think we're doing anything strange, right? I don't think we're breaking anything. I don't think we're transforming anything. See, I want to make sure we know that what we're doing is already being done. All we're doing is redirecting it by creating or showing the actual value proposition that has been two different things. One, it's been ignored, right? And the second thing is there weren't anybody with the skills to execute any of these things. Now, let's look at it like this. When it comes to what I do as far as developers, like there weren't many black developers with means or skills to do any of these things over the last 50 years, maybe a few, right? In Baltimore City in particular, I can actually count them on one hand, and my father was one of them, and he didn't want to grow. So the people that did, they're doing what we're doing now. I think what the issue is that people didn't understand the value proposition. I think what we've done. I'll first start with board development, and show you how that translates to Mazuro. With board development, what we've done is been able to say, okay, if if a neighborhood hasn't been rebuilt in 50 years, that means the land basis has to be cheap, right? Now, is it near a place where they have like an institution like a hospital or a university? Is it near great transportation or a highway, right? Is it near like the local metro center like downtowns or other counties that people want to be in? And can we get naturally occurring affordable or workforce housing that is and can we get a high density building? If I can answer those questions, that's no different than me going to downtown Baltimore, or well, you lived in Baltimore, so Fed Hill or Fells Point, and doing the same analysis, saying, oh, well, it's the same thing. The only difference is they just built a building there, a new building last year or the year before that, right? So the only issue is not the dynamics of whether there's a value proposition or not. The only issue is that is there capital available to flow there? So I don't think it's a what we're doing. I don't think we're transforming anything or breaking anything. I just think that we're saying we do have capital. Let's redistribute the flows to to places that need it, but also have the same value prop. The only
Okay.
difference is the demographics or the hue of the people that are living there are not the same. Now, I'm not going to call any systematic issues out, but what I will say is that if we're capitalists and we do care about impact and we think capital can affect impact, then why don't we just match the two? Because it will be impactful if you do it first with the intention of being impactful. So I don't know if we have to have a trade off. All I think we need to do is where are the places with asymmetrical risk? Do they have impact? And then do them. And I think that's really kind of how I break it down. And I think the issue has been is that there hasn't been anybody who would be willing to put the risk out and create that unique value proposition, immerse themselves in a community, build the relationships, and not get cussed out at the community
That's
meetings. So
that's
somebody
huge.
had to do the heavy lifting, and we're doing that. And then that's moved to my zero, where what we're already doing, we need a conduit of technology that makes it accessible and easy, because you can't talk to me every day because I'm out here doing the work. So, how do we streamline the capital flows to deals that we do or people who are like minded do or around the country? So, all we're doing and really is just trying to create what's already happened, which is we have a development firm, we have a real estate investment firm. Now, how do we create a capital markets vehicle that allows people access that they've never had before, which they do have access to mutual funds, ETFs that are trillions of dollars are in those things in multiple different companies. They have access to their pensions. They have access to stuff that have hundreds of billions of dollars. So they have access to all those things. The only thing they haven't had access to directly is this. Why isn't that? There's a trade off there, or there's an adoption that can happen because people want to make their own decisions now. So if we provide the access, the ability to make own decisions, we're doing the same thing everybody else is doing. We're just trying to do it better, right? So I'm not, you know, we're just layering. It's just a capital markets vehicle. It's nothing different than what everybody else is doing. We're just trying to do it with the actual set on step one. Impact this has to happen, right? Impact is what the goal is. The value proposition, income wise, is no different than anywhere else.
Okay, I feel that, and I definitely agree with that. However, I do feel like if you wanted to make impact in different ways, if you wanted to make impact, there are cheaper ways to make impact or less profitable ways to make impact, right? But when we start thinking about like impact at scale, it requires capital and it requires capital flow, right? Usually from higher concentrations to lower concentrations, right? So I don't like the narrative that within capitalism you can't do good, but I can't deny the narrative that the basis of capitalism is resource exploitation, and resources are usually people, right? So in the sense of this impact versus income discussion, I always lean more towards impact, but I always wrestle with the idea that you can't really make impact without um, well, impact can't be made at the expense of somebody else.
Hmm. I think when we talk about that in particular, there are intended consequences and there are unintended consequences. Only things we can control is the intended ones. The unintended ones we learn because we can't control it. So I think a lot of times, I would say a lot of people try to do things to do good. And also, I'm Russell. What is scale? And I think that's the real question, right? And I think about this for Zoro. I think about this for what we do at Bold Development. Do I need to go and build only 300 unit buildings? I don't know if that is scale, but that's not the only way to scale. Can I do 50, you know, or let's say, six 50 unit buildings? Yeah.
Hmm.
And if I have enough capital, that's scale, right? It may not be all in one place, but all in one plot of land, but it can be in a particular neighborhood. And we've revitalized the neighborhood, and now that's real impact, right? I think what we try to do is scale so much that we have economies of scale, operating efficiencies, and then that neglects the human connection that we need and what's actually needed in the community. So what I look at it, and anybody that listens to you because you are in the technology field, the tech wise, this will probably resonate. I look at what we do as a platform for change. So the buildings that we build are platforms that can other things no different than your iPhone, where you have I look at it as like the physical platform, and then what is the operating system, right? So if we have a good operating system, which is not just operating the property, but what applications can we put on top of the property that can impact. I think that's really more. So I think it's how do you use the platform properly and not exploit people on the platform, right? I don't have a problem exploiting companies, right? But you should have a problem exploiting individual people, which I think Amazon's done a good job of saying, hey, we'll subsidize so you can get your stuff in one day, in the same day, and for cheaper, right? Nobody has a problem with that, right? Or
Definitely.
Facebook saying that, or Apple say, oh, okay, well, we'll let Facebook on for free, but they would just tax them based on what they have to pay per year. They're not exploiting us per se, but they're exploiting, it doesn't go into how the products are made and all that stuff. But just I'm talking about using these things as an application, putting applications on top of our platform. Also, what is the product market fit you need for a neighborhood, right? What is the need? And can we put a product there that fits the need? So, a 300 unit building in a neighborhood like in Baltimore, like Franklin Square, Union Square, doesn't fit. But maybe a 25 unit building does fit, and they need a restaurant. So we'll have impact from the restaurant. We'll have impact
Mhm.
from the 25 units that are there. But it doesn't mean that we can do that at scale. We can do the rest of the block and do, or whatever is available in the rest of the block. And let's say it's two more properties. And maybe we get to 100 units all together
I
on
hear
that
you.
block. That's still operational scale efficiency, but it's just not, let me dump in
You're
$35 million in a scaled project that's 300 units.
so like you're optimizing for impact rather than optimizing for income at
For
that
income.
point.
Exactly.
Because let's say that the restaurant is the best thing for the community, but for your pockets, a laundromat would have been the best thing, for example.
Right. But
But
also
yeah,
let's take that example and let's double click on it. Maybe just a restaurant there with no residential wouldn't work. But the residential can help subsidize the ability to go get a better restaurant and take a lower price. So instead of me getting $18 a square foot, maybe I'll take 15 because the rent subsidized that. So allowing and understanding the calculus to say, maybe to get somebody here to impact the community, maybe I need to get $2 a square foot less. But everybody will want to live in my building. People will want to stay in the building. People want to stay in the neighborhood. So the life cycle of that neighborhood lasts a lot longer. Or the growth in the sustainability. I don't want to use sustainability, but the growth in the peak of that neighborhood lasts a little bit longer. So if it used to take 60 years, can we get it to 100? And we get it to 100, then now we have a sustainable neighborhood. And then that life cycle, you have to figure out what to do from there. But 100 years is a lot of years. It's maybe one, two, three generations, maybe. So at least we've done our job for the most part because I won't be here to see it. So at least we've left something where people can enjoy. So I would say like that's like the optimization for impact comes from the optimization of income if you know how to play with the calculus. So instead of trying to extract as much as possible, try to create stability, which allows for more retention, which allows for better building. Now, the question is, do you sell those buildings or not after you've created such an amazing place? And then
yeah,
that's where the issue comes because if you're going to be have funds or you have to build fund, you have to book wins. And the incentive is I have to sell to return money to investors to then book a win. And if I book the win and it's at top quartile, then I can raise more capital to do more. Now, the problem with that is it incentivizes you to exit. And the problem a lot of times in these communities and still is going on is the exit. So I think what we're looking at with Mazuro in particular is how do you create a permanent capital base where maybe you don't have to sell to exit, but you can create liquidity events through refinancing or recapitalization, like just different strategies to make it work. But you want to find a permanent capital base. I think that's what we're trying to build. I know we're going to do it in tandem with Bull Development, which I run on a day to day now, and building like we're looking at it, it's like, all right, well maybe we do want to do scaled stuff, but our family will only do impactful things. So
yeah.
the 12 unit that nobody wants to do in the neighborhood, nobody wants to go to. So maybe we can only get 30% leverage on it, but we'll put the 70% up and we'll just be patient, right?
Nice.
So that's where we're looking at is like if we can build up our family capital and create a permanent capital source to deliver, maybe for us it's lower returns, maybe now we're getting 5%, 7%, but the impact that we get in the geographic um, control that we can create can help, kind of create some type of sustainability and some consistency.
And the thing I love about that is the fact that anything that's built to last, anything that's built that's going to like be handed down to your kids and kids, you're not going to be able to see it, right? So it's even like our finances that we're working so hard to build. Like we're not really going to be able to experience like the full breadth of what we are creating, right? And that's legacy. Like that's okay. Like we don't have to like if we think about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? Like biblical, like theology, like stories always come to mind. Like God told Abraham, like your kids are going to be, as multiple or as plenteous as the sand in the seashore, right? You know what I'm saying? But Abraham only had how many kids? Like two kids. You know what I'm saying? So like just thinking about how crazy that sounds, where Israel, right, like three generations later is where everything kind of started scaling out a little bit. But Abraham never got to see that. But he operated in the same capacity. He operated in the same faith that it takes. In the same sense, like here we are operating in the same faith. We are investing. We are taking decisive steps, right, to build a financial legacy and leave a financial legacy for our families. And amen. Even if I don't see the impact that I'm making, which I pray that that's a prayer that we'll be able to see the impact with our own eyes, right? But just like Moses, man, as long as we know that the people is going to get to that promised land, right? And they're gonna have a good leader that's gonna carry them through that promised land. Like we should be as men, we should be okay with, hey, we did our part. We got them to the door, and we put a good leader in place that's gonna get them the rest of the way.
Now, and that just leads me to a question. I'm kind of ask you, like, how important is duty, right? I think we neglect, or because we're such a everybody wants to be such an individual and wants to be so allegedly free of thought, mind, and whatever they want to identify themselves with, or whatever they want to, live by or do things. Like I think it's a simple neglect of duty at this point. What is your duty? What is your responsibility? Right? I have seen, and as I walk through the weeks and I'm in the communities, who dropped the ball on whose duty it was to maintain this. Like I could say it was the government, but I'm here today. Am I going to pass the buck again, or is it my duty to do something about it? Now I have this particular skill, this particular passion and mission. What is your passion and mission, and are you responsible? Right? And responsibility doesn't always mean physical. Responsibility can mean investing, putting your dollars in, having faith that these things will happen with the right people. Responsibility could also mean lending your expertise, lending your knowledge to somebody who needs it to be able to get things, lending your resume, right? All these things are things that are of value that we have a duty and responsibility. I don't want to look at it as a giving back thing, but looking at it as something that is impactful, right? We all have a part to play. Are we going to be complicit in the decline? Are we going to be complacent in what we see? Or are we going to be people that hold and say, hey, this has to change, and I may not see it, right? Getting older and what I'm doing today, sometimes you have self-doubt, but the truth of the matter is, for me, I will put my life on the line. I will die before I quit what I'm doing today. And it is hard. And there's a lot of barriers, systematic barriers. There are, lending barriers, their relationship barriers, their political barriers. But you guys are gonna see me, or you kill me, because I'm gonna still be here. And that's the commitment and the duty that we do have for our communities. Now, I don't want anybody to be as extreme as me. That's just me. But we do need
Same,
to
but that ain't me.
fill in the gaps on below that extreme, because that extreme needs
Right.
to be supported to make some type of substantial change. You need people that are not going to quit, but you also need people that support those people that are not going to quit so they don't. Right? Conversations like this hold me accountable. Going outside in the community hold me accountable, to say you can't give up. Right? So these things are, I think, important when it comes to impact. It's just and income. It's just those things, being able to take those risks, but then also put your life on the line for it. Right? It doesn't have to be physically, but it should be. If you quit, ah,
Facts.
I know.
Yeah.
That
And you got to hold that like it wasn't anybody else. Like you got to hold that responsibility that you dropped the ball, and as the man, that is that's your burden to bear.
how many of our leaders feel like that? How many you think feel like that? I think a lot.
I feel like if more felt like that, we'd be in a better position.
Or they feel
You
like
know.
that. They feel like that because they gave up, and that's what happened. I think I've been blessed to see people that haven't gave up. I always ask this one gentleman, like, well, you've been doing this for a while. You still out here? He's like, yo, we just getting a little better every day. It's better than when I first started 20 years ago. I said,
That's
damn.
tough.
I said, oh, you gave your
Real
life for
tough.
this. This is you. He's like, yeah, this is me.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Because we're both fathers. I'm gonna keep saying that because I'm really happy to be a father. By the way, I don't know if you could tell.
I'm happy. I'm
Um,
happy that you're happy. I love
so,
that.
man, you don't even know. And we're both husbands, right? And we're both sons. We're brothers, in any capacity, But like, what I've realized is in this in this life, man, like we are, like we're pushing for certain goals, right? And I always wrestle with finding the balance of fatherhood and husbandhood, like in it, right? And trying to figure out how much I can pull away from my entrepreneurial endeavor, or how much I can pull away from my familial duties to pursue other things, and place it in different places. And you touched on this in your praise. I think that's why it's extremely important to have like an amazing wife, because the best leader, the best man, you're only gonna be able to go as far as your wife will let you. Like there's no other way around saying that. And yeah, man, like how do you I wanted to open that conversation up, like the balancing fatherhood, husbandhood with it all, like that tension. How do you wrestle with that?
It's tough. It's very tough. Um, what I'm starting to do now is think wife first, kids second. Um, the reason why is because I've learned that I really can't do much for y'all. I can help, but at the end of the day, I can be a good example. You can take what you want, good and bad,
Facts.
and I can, give you some rope and then pull you back in. But the truth of the matter is what you said, is that I want, at least for my relationship and my wife, when I go out with people, I want people to say, well, you lucky to have her, right? Um, and for women to gravitate towards my wife. Now, who sets that standard and bar, and who sets that environment? It has to be me as a leader. And I think what I'm trying to do now is just be more cognizant of, like, this is my wife, and I'll be the first person to tell you I ain't perfect at all, and I may be an a-hole a lot of times, right?
Sometimes.
Well, with her, maybe more than some.
Okay.
So, but trying to communicate these things and you know get us to try to just be the best examples, I think is what has been really what I'm drilling down to what's kind of really important, which is I see my nephew, and I think it became more clear when my nephew came to live with us. That he started copying a lot of stuff I was doing. So my demeanor on how quick I get mad, he started doing it, right? The tone that he uses when he's frustrated, he started doing it. So am I being a good example? Right now, I don't want to be fake, but I need to be a good example, right? So how do I refine myself where, like we talked about before, what is those foundational principles that you can point to and say, hey, Uncle Winfield, Daddy, he lives by that, and that's something I like identify that I need to live by, right? This is what we live by, right? And then I'll figure out what to add on from there myself, right? So one is I just remove the thing of me thinking that children are mine. They're not. They're not my wife's. We're here to guide them. That's it. Um, I don't own them. They're their own people, and whether they succeed or not is up to them. And they got to live with it. They got to live with it. Will I be proud for success and disappointed and failure? For sure. But I got to live with that, right?
Yeah.
But I got to give my best effort, and I think that's really the big thing is just being my best effort, being an example. But then, what is it's so important for me and my wife to be at the best we've ever been because it's going to get harder and harder as we progress in career, as the kids get older. It don't get easier from here. This is the easiest it's going to be.
Mhm.
So, for us to be able to sustain, we need to get it together today,
I
right?
feel that.
We need to put everything on the table, which we've done. We need to, friendship is important to me. We need to be friends because we don't need to be judging each other, right? How many times your friend does something stupid, you like, man, he's stupid, but that's my guy. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
stupid stuff. She gonna do stupid stuff, man. We gonna do it, but that's me. That's me, right? And then hopefully, as we grow older, we continue just to get better every day. But I think it's a tough thing. Is being I got married young, so I can feel for you. I think I was a little younger than you when I got married.
How old were you when you got married?
22.
Okay. Yeah, you were 2 years younger than me.
Yeah. So I got married young, so I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And then, like I told you before you got married, you don't know nothing either, which is cool as long as you know it, right? At
Facts.
least you had somebody tell
No,
you.
no, you're absolutely correct.
Nobody told me. I ain't know. I thought I knew, right? I didn't know. I didn't know who I was picking. I didn't know what I was picking. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what to do. I didn't understand anything. I wasn't emotionally ready. Um, and it took a toll on our relationship because we were already parents, and then we tried to do that. And for me, what I have learned is that we need to know those things to move forward. I need to know who I am. I need to know my principles. I need to know what we agree and we disagree on. Whether we agree or disagree don't matter to me. We just need to agree on the things that actually matter, right?
Facts.
For example, and you know this, I grew up Christian, but I don't go to church. My wife started going to church, so I'm not going to say, "Oh, I disagree on going to church." Hey, I give you two weekends out the month.
I'm crying. That's compromise. It's a start.
I don't know if it's compromise, but what I do
You
want
don't
to
think?
do, no, I don't. I don't think I'm compromising myself. I have no problem going to church. That's not stopping me from nothing. But I'd rather
Hmm.
go to the gym and work out. Absolutely, right? But my wife is on a journey. I need to support it. So I'm not compromising. I'm supporting. And
Feel that.
I'm trying to change the language that we use, like that word compromise, like the word submit. We breaking down the word. We're using it as like, what is our mission? What is you want me to lead? What is my mission? Right? That this is my mission, and we're trying to change the family, and that's our mission. Sub means beneath or below. We need to be beneath or below the mission. The mission guides us to what we do and how we do things. So don't submit to me. It's not what it is. I'm a man on a mission. Submit to the mission. I'll be in line with the mission. If I'm not, smack me in my head, right? Because it's about the mission. It's not about me or you. It's about what are we trying to get accomplished. And if we're not on the same page on that, everything else can never be on the same page. So I want her to be better as a person because it helps our mission. So I need to support it,
Stuff.
right? But I have to be below the mission. So the mission is for us to do that. She's taken all the kids there, even by herself, because she wants to create a good foundation. If it's about our family, that's our mission. I need to support that. Now, I'm going to go to the gym those other 2 days. I'm for sure going to the gym. I'm going to go to my BJs like I normally do. I'm going to wash my car on that Sunday like I normally do and be in my routine. But those other two, you will see me in there clapping, singing the songs, praying, reading the scriptures, taking the notes, and discussing what's going on. And even my mother, because I listen to, Christian stuff, listen to, Islam, things. My mother is doing both now, right? Because all we're looking at is like, how can we get better? What can we learn from? And, is it beneficial to the mission, right? And even my mother's getting on the same page on what the mission is for our family at large, including my father and my sister. My sister only one that ain't on the mission. So hopefully she get back on track.
Amen. Amen. Now, bro, this is the reason why we do this. Like, this is the reason why we have these types of conversations. Because honestly, I feel like I learned a lot. Even just talking with you, just processing some of it. Like, it's therapeutic, bro. Like, this is like barbershop talk, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful you took the time out to chop it up with me, bro.
Nah, I appreciate it because I don't talk to most people, and I sit in the house most of the time. So a lot of this stuff is stuff that I'm getting out, that I've been discussing with my friends, um, discussing with my wife, and a lot of times this gives me opportunity to kind of like, you know, get it out. So then like, because you never really know until you say it, like how it sounds, right?
Yeah,
And so,
yeah,
so this gives me opportunity to kind of like get some of this stuff out, as I continue to learn. 'Cause I really
facts.
don't know. There's no right answers, and it changes every day. So I'm grateful that you just have an opportunity for us just to have a conversation, and you kind of jog some of the thoughts that I've been having and I've been able to talk about.
Where, bro, I was actually about to ask you. You are you're about to be a decade into your marriage,
Yeah, next year,
bro.
yeah,
You
next
better
year.
you better do something special, man. 10 years
Well,
is
we
crazy.
may we if we can make it to that date,
You will.
we
You will.
will we probably end up renewing our vows. So I'll send you and your wife an invite.
Oh, that's beautiful,
Because
bro.
we're gonna
Yeah.
renew our vows. Um, we're gonna have we're gonna have a party because we were broke.
Hey.
We didn't have anything at the time, and you know, I think back on that time, and it was tough, right? But we still got it done, and we made it. And I said this in the car earlier today. We were talking about this house that I love in Italy, and we are just like, why not us? We here.
Yeah.
Look at all we've been through, and we still here, still hanging on. It may be by a thread, it may be by a rope. Don't matter. We here,
He's still here.
and why not us?
Absolutely.
Why not us? Right? And I think one thing me and my wife have that there's a reason why we still together because we just won't quit. We just not quitters, right? Like I be wanting to quit. I be wanting to go. I'm telling you, I be wanting to
Yo,
go.
bro.
I be wanting to
Yeah.
go, man. But I want to win this, right? And I know it sounds
Hmm.
like black and white, but I want to win this relationship. I don't want to lose it. I know most people, I know stuff goes around and said married people are miserable, but I think people are miserable because they miserable.
Facts.
You just bringing that to them. That ain't no big thing. So what I try to just, I want to win the relationship. Actually, I'm gonna bring this up to her after we talk about this. I want to win. I want to win it and get as far as we can, right? And take it one day, 1 year at a time. Because I didn't even think we would get to 10, but we're here. You know what I
Facts.
mean? Like I really, in a month we had 9. It's like, we gonna do something special for that, and I I have no idea how fast it goes fast. You're gonna see. This goes fast. Next thing you know, your child's gonna be 10, and
Hey
then
man, I'm 2.5 in.
yeah,
2.5 in.
2.5 went fast.
That's what I'm saying. Honestly, let me. Okay, so last segment because my son is tweaking and my wife is probably he probably got on her nerves already. So let me go take him. Um, all right. So if I were a boy, if I were a girl, this is the last segment. So, um, essentially, this one, if you had to distill this entire conversation that we just spoke about into a 2 sentence uh, phrase or 2 sentences, right? To the a 10-year-old version of yourself. How would you do it?
Hmm.
While you're thinking, I'm gonna explain the reason why I chose 10, and I think I'm gonna start explaining this every chance I get. Um, because I read something that says that the like everybody deals with childhood trauma, right? Which means by default the children are routinely being traumatized. And while it could be on one hand that children are soft, right? That's why everything traumatizes them. Or it could be another thing where um, hurt people, right? And traumatized parents don't know how to process that properly, and they end up hurting their children because of it, or other people. So the reason that I created this one is because I think that when we talk to a 10-year-old version of ourselves, we're likely talking to like the traumatized version of ourselves. Like when I try and distill these lessons down to a 10-year-old version of Winston, I'm not talking to Winston. I'm talking to little Winnie. You know what I'm saying? That has been through all these things. And I'm trying to get this point across to him because in getting this across to him, I'm actually touching a part of myself that um, most people don't get deep enough to expose and therefore can't heal. So that's why I chose, how do we boil this down to a 10-year-old version of ourselves? I want us to talk to our traumas really quickly.
Yeah, I think in like themes. So one of the first things that come to mind is um, confidence, right? I think when you get to that age through the trauma that you're talking about, I think what I would just try to, convey is that you can have confidence and not in not not feel insecure about it. Your confidence doesn't hurt other people's. Um, it doesn't hurt them. I think that's one of the things. What you say is that I think a lot of times. Well, I put it like this because what we talked about really throughout this, outside of confidence, 'cause I think confidence goes into a different theme, which is you know um, being naked exposure and being who you are, right?
Mhm.
So for me, I think one of the things I would say to my 10-year-old self is just be exactly who you are, have the confidence in who you are, and don't feel guilty about it. Don't hide your light. Don't bury your gifts. I think that's really what our conversation has been, is that it's okay. It really is okay to be you. And I think that's what I would tell, and I still struggle with that today because of, I don't want to say trauma, but because of my life experience, because of wanting to please other people and look out for other people. In some ways, I've dimmed my light um, because you want to make sure everybody else is comfortable. And through that, you've made everybody soft and relying just on you to get things done. So I would say that as if I was talking to my 10-year-old self is don't dim your light at all. Be who you are. Be confident. Don't feel guilty about it because it is okay to be you.
Facts. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden.
Absolutely.
That's Bible.
Oh,
That's
that
Bible for you.
my mother used to say that all the time. It's funny you said that. She used to say that as a
That's dope.
kid all the time, and my father used to say, um, don't ever let anybody get in the way of your goals, not even your family."
Wow.
So yeah, and you take those lessons at 10 and you ignore them because of all those other things. And that's how I try to,
They come back.
yeah, like you try to do it. But now a lot of that stuff is more clear now than it's ever been for me.
That's beautiful, bro. Man, this is probably my second favorite one yet. I'm not gonna lie, and I've shot a lot, so that's a pretty high praise, man. Let's
Nah, I appreciate it. I think I think anytime this is like a normal conversation that we sit and have.
high
At
key.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
bro.
yeah,
This is lunch.
yeah. So I'm definitely appreciate us just sitting and talking, of course, with the cameras recorded this time, but
Thanks.
it's definitely been an honor, and I'm always extremely humbled um, by people even just wanting to sit and talk. I know it sounds weird, but always humbled by it.
No, bro. Definitely got a lot of wisdom in there, and I'm thankful that you shared it today. But hey, y'all, listen, that is the episode today. I hope y'all learned as much as I learned, and we gonna be back next week to talk about a little bit more. But just want to challenge you guys to continue to grow more each day in faith, family, and finances. Thank you. Have a great day. Peace.